He thought his mute daughter had nothing more to say, until a stranger's hands unlocked a voice. He thought he'd lost forever. Ethan Marlowe was the kind of man newspapers called untouchable. A billionaire investor, known for his ruthless business strategies. He commanded boardrooms with a single glance. But outside the flashing cameras and glossy magazine covers, there was a part of his life he kept fiercely guarded. His 8-year-old daughter, Arya. Arya had been born mute. Doctors could never give Ethan a clear answer. Her vocal cords were perfectly healthy, but she simply never spoke. Ethan, a man who solved billion-dollar problems before breakfast, was helpless in the face of this mystery. Every speech therapist, every specialist, every experimental treatment, they all failed. And so, he adapted, learning the basics of sign language to communicate with her. But even then, their conversations were limited. She never expressed much more than short answers, never revealed what truly went on in her mind. Ethan loved her fiercely, but deep down, he feared he would never truly know his daughter. One crisp autumn afternoon, Ethan decided to take Arya out for a rare treat. She had been unusually withdrawn lately, even more than usual, and he thought maybe a quiet café visit might lift her spirits. They drove to a small, cozy coffee shop tucked into a side street, one Ethan had never noticed before. Its warm yellow lights spilled onto the sidewalk, and the faint smell of fresh cinnamon rolls drifted into the air. The moment they stepped inside, Arya's eyes darted around, scanning the room as though searching for something or someone. Ethan placed a gentle hand on her shoulder and guided her toward a corner table. He ordered a cappuccino for himself and a slice of strawberry cake for her. She sat still, her hands in her lap, but there was a tension in her little frame, like she was holding her breath. A few minutes later, their waitress arrived. She was a young black woman, maybe in her mid-20s, with warm brown eyes and a smile that seemed to light up the room. She set Ethan's coffee down with practiced grace, then turned to Arya. "And here's your cake, sweetheart," she said softly. Arya's eyes widened, but she didn't respond. The waitress hesitated, her gaze flicking between father and daughter. Then, without a word, she moved her hands in fluid, precise motions. Ethan froze. He recognized it instantly. American Sign Language. The waitress had signed, "Do you like strawberries?" And for the first time in months, Ethan saw something he thought he'd never witness again. Arya's face lit up. Her little hands moved quickly, nervously. "Yes, they're my favorite." The waitress beamed and signed back, "Mine too. I like them with chocolate. Have you tried that?" Ethan sat there, utterly stunned. Arya was signing full sentences fluidly, naturally, more than she ever had with him. In the span of 30 seconds, she'd said more to this stranger than she had to her own father in weeks. When the waitress stepped away to take another order, Ethan leaned in. "Arya, you've never told me you like strawberries more than chocolate." She looked at him, her hands stilling, her little mouth pressing into a thin line. She didn't sign or reply. Instead, she looked down at her plate, shoulders hunching. Ethan felt a strange mix of emotions: relief that she was capable of expressing herself so freely, and a pang of guilt that she hadn't done so with him. When the waitress returned to check on them, Ethan asked, "How did you know she used sign language?" The woman smiled gently. "I didn't. I just noticed the way she avoided speaking, but still looked ready to respond. My little brother was born deaf. I've been signing my whole life. It's just a habit now. I try it when I meet quiet kids." Ethan nodded, grateful. But something in her tone made him curious. "Your brother, does he ever choose not to speak, even if he can?" Her expression softened. She glanced at Arya, then back at Ethan. "Sometimes kids go quiet because it's safer. Speaking up can be scary, especially if something hurt them." The words sank into Ethan like stones into water. He wanted to ask 100 questions, but Arya had started signing to the waitress again, this time faster, her hands moving in a blur. The waitress smiled, responding with equal speed. Ethan couldn't keep up. It was like watching two people who had known each other for years. When their food was done, Ethan asked the waitress, whose name he learned was Maya, if she'd be willing to teach Arya more sign language sometime. Maya hesitated, glancing at Arya for permission. Arya nodded eagerly. Over the next weeks, Ethan brought Arya to the café every few days, At first, he simply watched as she and Maya spoke, in a world of hands and expressions. Slowly, he began joining in, struggling to keep up but determined. With each visit, Ethan noticed something miraculous. Arya's posture straightened. Her eyes met his more often, and she even started signing more to him at home. Then, one afternoon, as they were leaving the cafe, Arya tugged at his sleeve. She signed, "I like talking to you now." Ethan swallowed hard. "I like talking to you too, sweetheart." That night, he couldn't stop thinking about what Maya had said about how silence could be a shield. And slowly, painfully, Ethan began piecing together moments from the past, his long business trips, the way he'd sometimes answered her questions half distracted, the times he'd told her to wait because of an urgent phone call. He'd thought providing for her financially was enough, but she hadn't needed a billionaire, she'd needed a present father. One rainy evening, about 2 months later, Ethan found Arya sitting at the kitchen table, a notebook open before her. In shaky handwriting, she had written a short sentence. "I'm ready to talk now." Ethan's heart slammed in his chest. You mean out loud?" She nodded, biting her lip. Tears blurred his vision as he reached across the table and took her small hands in his. "Whenever you're ready, no pressure." She took a deep breath, her voice trembling but clear. "Hi, Daddy." The sound was the most beautiful thing Ethan had ever heard. From that day forward, Arya still used sign language. Often it was her comfort zone, but now she mixed it with speech. And Ethan, once a man obsessed with markets and mergers, found himself obsessed with something far rarer: the quiet, miraculous ways love could bring a voice back to life. And it had all started with a simple act of kindness from a waitress who saw what no one else had.